Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Customer Success Rants and Musings. My name is Rick Adams from practicalcsm.com. So episode 4 is on the topic of how to get a meeting with a senior stakeholder. And I've chosen this because it was something that I find I often get asked by my students time and time again, even quite senior students, people who perhaps have had multiple customer facing roles before, who are business consultative in their approach, but still find it difficult to get a meeting with a senior stakeholder. They've got to this level within the organization, but they can't get to the next level. So how do you do it? Well, there are a number of ways, and I've only got a few minutes here, so I'm going to talk about one specific way that may be able to help you. So the first thing I want to point out is that you should really, I know we're told, try and increase the level of the seniority of the stakeholders that we're talking to. And as a general rule, that's a good rule to have. But in the specific instance, when you're talking to a particular customer, please bear in mind that actually you've got to bring value to those stakeholders if you want to meet them. So the first thing to do is to think about, well, what value do I bring to the stakeholder? Forget about the fact that it brings value to you to meet them. What about them? So let's first of all think of them. What value will coming to a meeting with you bring to them? And if you can't find any, don't have the meeting. So if there's no value for the stakeholder, don't invite them. And in fact, if you do invite them and you effectively have them leaving that meeting thinking that was a waste of my time, well then in fact actually you've probably made things worse rather than better in terms of building the relationship with that customer. So that's number one. So assuming that you have identified the value for them of attending a meeting, the next thing then is to leverage your existing relationships. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the junior person that you have the relationship with to get in front of the senior person you want to talk to. And the way to do that is to talk to this person who you can talk to because they're willing to talk to you and they expect you to be talking to them. But you're going to use the language of this person, of the senior person, the person you want to meet. So for example, maybe this is somebody who's in charge on a day-to-day basis of managing and maintaining the product that you've installed and making sure it's all working okay, that they've purchased from you. And maybe this person is a financial decision maker, maybe even the CFO for the sake of argument. So what we want to do is we want to ask questions of and talk about subjects related to finance that maybe the person we're talking to can't answer those questions, but can see the value of. They need to be real, legitimate questions. We're not just asking questions for the sake of it. We're asking questions that need to be answered. So, for example, what level of ROI, what level of risk, what's the time to value need to be, and what happens if there's a longer time to value but a greater ROI. These types of questions. So maybe the person that we're talking to, and this is all just an example, but maybe the person we're talking to thinks, well, those are great questions, and actually I don't know the answer. And then what we can say is, well, look, I don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. In order to present the value to the CFO, which I know is something that you want to do, we need to know these answers so that we can present the information in the right way to them, and we can make sure as we progress that we are hitting milestones that are actually meaningful for the CFO. So why don't we organize a meeting, the three of us? Perhaps if you could organize that, and I'll attend, and then I will help you to get the right information out of the CFO so that the two of us then can go away and we can design how we're going to measure, what KPIs we're going to use, and how we're going to report back to the CFO. In other words, we're going to make that person, our stakeholder that we already know, we're going to make them look good. We're going to make them the hero. And this is why they would potentially say, yes, okay, that sounds like a good idea, because they've now seen that we understand the language of the person that we want to meet, so that we're going to talk about things that are of interest and importance to that senior level stakeholder, and we're not going to look foolish in front of them and make them therefore look foolish because they were the ones who recommended to speak to us. So that's how we can do that. So it's one technique for getting in front of more senior stakeholders. First of all, make sure that you've got some value to bring. And then secondly, leverage your existing relationships by asking questions and talking about the things that this person is interested in to show this person why we need to talk to this one. Does it work every time? No. We've got to overcome the barriers of risk and the feelings of concern around, should I invite that person into this person? We've got to prove through building our trust relationship that it is a good idea to do so. That can take time. So if it doesn't work, don't worry, continue doing what you're doing, continue talking the language and talking about the things that will interest this person so that this person can see that, and then try again in a period of time, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or so. There we go. That's it for today. I look forward to another podcast shortly. Bye for now.